my daughter, because she had texted, "Are you still working? Are you okay?" And I was sitting there texting an answer back to her, and then you know how it is when somebody's standing right behind you, and I kind of looked, and I'm like, "Oh, hi," and then I'm like, "I don't know who you are, but you're not from this time period." So I'm like, "Well, right now I'm texting, and I'm trying to explain to this guy what I was doing, you know, how it was kind of like a telegraph or, you know, typewriter, and then when you push send, it's just like the telegraph, it goes to whoever you're sending it to." And he stood there and watched for the longest time, and then was gone. So I went and I looked. We have like a thing of the history of the mill, and they got pictures in there, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, so your name's Henry." You know, I mean, because I saw him clear as day, you know, he was there. And like I said, there's a shadow figure here. I'm not sure who he is because he's never revealed himself, but I call him my jokester because the first time I ever had to work late, I was doing something in the kitchen, and it was about midnight, and all of a sudden there's this blood-curdling scream coming out of the dining room. I figured it was probably kids outside, but it just sounded like in the dining room, so I just ignored it. And then a few minutes later, the back door over here, I'm hearing this, and I'm like, who the heck would be here at midnight? You know, so I went over and looked, nobody was there. And as I got back, I looked and I could see the shadow figure walk by, and I'm like, okay. And he's tried doing that joke on me a couple of times, but I've caught on to it now. And I'm pretty sure he was probably the one with the music that Kurt heard.
Yeah.
And his favorite place is, he likes that back door, but he will go and sit in that hostess chair. I've seen him numerous times sit.
Okay.
He's probably about yay tall. So I really have no idea. It's like I said, you know, I kept trying to talk to him, hoping I'd find out who he was. You know,
Yeah.
but he never. I don't know what the deal is. And then we have the heavy walker. You'll hear boots going across the ceiling upstairs a lot of times. And like he told you about the woman ghost, she comes to pretty much all the weddings that we have up there. I've seen her for that a few times. And then we also have Ben. He's my elevator ghost. I'm not really sure why he likes that particular place, but he was a gentleman that worked here that passed away 10-ish years ago, 15 years ago, but he was kind of like a fix-it, you know, a general fix-it man. And I can't remember, a lot of times when I'm here by myself, I'll sing and stuff, and I just happened to be singing Michael Jackson's Ben. I don't know why that popped in my head, but I did. And all of a sudden, Ben's there, and he likes giving hugs. He's very friendly, you know, but he's this little old man, you know, nothing imposing. None of these people are really scary. It's not like,
Right.
you know, you're dealing with demons. And I
Yeah.
had that once.
Nothing
in a while.
demonic.
Yeah, nothing. No, they're all just, you know, peaceful spirits. They're here. This is their place. They like it here. There's also some guy that, what I sense, he's not part of the mill. He was not part of the operations, and I don't think he died here, but I have a feeling, because I see him in one of the pits downstairs periodically when I'm putting stuff away. But he, besides his dresses, you know, they usually show themselves in the period in which they were, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
And he had more modern clothes, and I'm what I get feeling off it is he was a drowning victim somewhere around here, and it could be because Lake Marion, which is over across 14, used to come down here, and it went through the mill, obviously.
Yeah, I heard there's a big flood, like
Yeah.
in 1880 something or something.
And it could very well be, you know, I just know what he looks like. I just call him my shy guy, because he just poof, and he'll go. He sees you seeing him, he's kind of funny. And I have never seen the kids, but I've heard them giggle downstairs.
Okay.
Wow.
And I don't know if they're part of, like, say, Henry's family or his father. His father ran the mill before him. Henry was the one that basically rebuilt it after somebody caused it to catch fire. There was like an arson attempt, and then a year later it burned down, and he's the one that rebuilt it and ran it to like about 1920. So I understand why he's here. The shadow figure, I don't know if it's an earlier person or later. I mean, he's not evil in what he does, you know, but in fact they even warned me too, because it was really weird. Last year I kept coming in and I'd find the damn stove full blast, one burner, and I was like, you know, and I knew since I was the last one out that all that stuff had been off. So I was like, well, somebody coming in and fixing something to eat, because for a while it was fryers were on too.
Okay.
And I like, okay, well, you know, they hand out keys, and it could be an ex-employee that was drunk, decided he wanted some chicken fingers and came here or something.
Right.
But the stove kept going on, and that one was more dangerous because it's an open flame. And This
Yep.
is an old building. So I said one night, I said, okay, let's do it this way, guys. I said, I have a feeling you're behind this because those burners are not ones that can easily just flip on.
Right.
And I said, do this. You're obviously trying to tell me something. What? I don't know. I said, let's do it this way. If there's something wrong with this stove, tomorrow I do not want to see an open flame on it because you cause this thing to burn down, this whole building, and then you won't have a place to go. And I said, so don't turn it on. I come in tomorrow morning, I do not want to see any of these flames on. And I said, you know, if you're just doing it as a joke, fine, turn it on again, but it's dangerous. And I came in the next morning, no flame. So we called a guy to come, and the guy goes, oh, thank God you called. He goes, this one burner here, if you had turned it on, you could have caused an explosion and a fire here.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, that's why I mean, they kind of are helpful. I mean, they don't bother me. You know, I always talk to them and tell them, you know, try to be respectful because they were people, they were humans.
Yep,
you know?
exactly.
And so, yeah, they, you know, it's like I said, I feel and see them all over here, but I guess what you call like a sensitive. I've seen them since I was a little kid. My daughter's the same way. She worked here for a while and she saw a lot of the same ones I saw.
Oh.
So she might be coming back later. I told her I would talk to you after all. I would, if you wouldn't mind, like to stay.
Yeah, most definitely.
You know,
Yep,
maybe
for sure.
I can have them come.
Oh, absolutely.
Most definitely.
Okay.
Yep.
You know, like I said, the only place I always wanted to join a team like yours. The only thing that I cannot handle is, because I tried it with the one that we used to be in Verona before they tore it down, is going into places like old prisons. I get so overwhelmed because so many are talking to me at once. It's just like physically, ugh.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I can tell you too, we lived in Verona for 20 years. Somewhere in that town is a portal. I am not sure where, but there's just too many goddamn haunted places in there. I mean, again, it's got a history, just like this place does. You can get like Native American energy.
Yeah.
You can get off this.
Is there places that shouldn't necessarily be haunted, but they are?
Yeah, I mean, you know,
Okay.
like the place that we lived in, that was my only terrifying experience I've ever had in my life, and I still don't know why it stopped, except that apparently, maybe, I don't know if it was the age or what, but we lived in this townhouse and it was weird because every unit, depending on who moved in, it was like the same issue repeatedly. Like on the end unit, a family moved in, the wife would have an affair with a younger guy and leave the kids with the husband, and one of the kids would get sick. And that happened like 3 times in a row, which is kind of more than a coincidence. And the people next to me, they'd move in, and they just, I don't know, for whatever reason, I just call it, kind of went batshit crazy. And the last woman that was there started throwing pillows out the window and was saying Commander Tom was coming to blow up the place. So I called the police, and they came and had to drag her away. And, you know, after things had calmed down, because I was trying to get my kids ready for school at the time, I started thinking, because we had experience. Now you tell me if this is not weird. My daughter was a teenager. She started having these nightmares. And I finally said to her one night, I said, that's really odd. I've been having the same nightmare for like a month now. And she goes, me too. And we started talking. Her and I had the exact same nightmare.
Oh, wow.
Really?
And I'm like, okay, there's something weird to this. And I had seen, you know, spirits around there and stuff, you know, and it didn't really bother me. And I'm like, I can't think that they would do that, but there's something here that must be kind of evil. Well, one night she lights out with these blood-curdling yells. I went in, she goes, a troll came out of my closet. And I'm like, oh, honey, you probably just had, no, I saw it, it was ugly. It was a troll, it was a troll. And she's freaking out, and I'm like, well, you know, I mean, come on, for like a 14-year-old or 15-year-old, they don't want to sleep with their mother, but she wanted to. So like 2 nights later, I'm sleeping in bed, and I felt, you know, the bed moved. I thought, oh, it's probably her. So I kind of, being the mom, you know, you sit up, and I went to go cover her, and there's nobody there. And I'm like, that's odd. And then all of a sudden, the bottom of my bed was moving, and I looked, and this thing crawled out. And it was a demon. I have no doubt in my mind it was a demon. The way it looked like, what it smelled like, I was just like, holy crap. So I went to the priest in town. I said, yeah, I need help. This guy didn't even bat an eye, which means he's had to deal with this crap before. So I went through and, blessed and cleansed the whole place. And I think that's when that thing went next door, because the lady, when she got out of the psych hospital, came home and 2 days later killed herself, shot herself in the head.
Oh.
Really?
But when if you analyze what she was saying, it kind of went with the other stuff, the evil and all that. But yeah, so no, I don't ever want to mess with the demon again. But it was weird because it stopped after that, and I've heard that sometimes they're really, you almost have to get, like a priest to come in or a shaman or something. And the only thing I could think of, because I know when that nightmare, the last time I got it, I sat and I said, no, it stops now. And I never had it after that. So I don't know if it had something to me being sensitive that it stopped, or he felt, no, you don't go against Mama Bear and her kids, or what, but.
Yeah.
Because everybody else sure was bothered with it there. But yeah, no, it was, Verona had a hospital there it started out as a place for widows and children to live from the Civil War. And then it kind of morphed into a poor farm for a while, but then it morphed into the psychiatric hospital. And there was, that place was very haunted. There are pictures of ghosts and stuff that people caught all the time. I worked there for a short while. And the tunnels in the basement at one point, during the flu pandemic in 1918, they had a tunnel that went out across the way over to the graveyard. And one night we were just playing around, we were walking through the tunnel, and all of a sudden we got this blood-curdling scream, and there was nobody else around. It was 2 in the morning, we're just like, wow.
Speaking of caves, do you know much about the cave downstairs?
You mean the pits?
Well, the cave or whatever.
That's where the water came in and flowed out of.
No, Nancy was saying that's where the slaves went.
Oh, you're talking about the underground tunnel.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of tunnels underground in the city and this building that were tied back to the slave,
The Underground Railroad type?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if somebody would have died down there,
Yeah, I haven't
imagine
had-
they'd be hanging around.
Yeah. The only one I've ever seen down there is the Shy Guy, and then I heard the kids. I have never had a black one, but maybe that's who the prankster is. I don't know. Not having ever seen him. I don't know why he wants to remain anonymous, but I just joke along with him, and it's like, I don't know, behave yourself. I always tell him, I said, the more you fart around and make me do this stuff, the longer it's going to take for me to get out of your hair, so to speak. So I usually settle down, but yeah. Now, this place is interesting. I've worked in other places that are present. There's a lot of other places here. My daughter used to live in one of the old buildings upstairs on Main Street. And that one, I stayed with them for a while, and there was definitely a darker presence there, but I never noticed any activity, so I don't know if it was residual energy or not. But it turns out that building at one time was used for a venue for what was Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey. They'd come and do skits there, and people would buy tickets, go up and watch in that area. So I don't know, if one of the people it was definitely a dark energy. My daughter picked up on it too, but we never saw or heard anything.
Right.
So it was definitely, but there's other places in town here that are interesting. I would love to find out if where Henry and his father, the house that they bought here in town, still exists. And I would love to know if they have things too going. I just have never had time to run over there and say, hey, this got a strange question for you.
Right, yeah.
Because I know it was a larger family. And
So when it comes to Henry, he's one that hangs around here?
he's the one that was watching me text message that night.
So is he, did he work here or what?
He was the
his-
owner of the mill.
Oh.
His dad bought the mill back in 1880 something, I think. And then Henry grew up here, and he took it over when his dad retired. He was the one that rebuilt it after the fire that took most of it out. And so he was here till like 1920 or 21, something like that.
Huh.
So yeah, I can show you a picture of him. We got those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't know if the lady in blue, I thinking with the period dress and stuff, somehow she may be tied to him. I know he had a sister who passed away from consumption, whatever the heck that is, back. She was like 18 or 19 at the time, and that's why I kind of thought, well, maybe it was her, because I think she had gotten married early, but then whatever, she got really sick all of a sudden and died. I don't know, what it really was. It'd be interesting to talk to her and find out what, it's like I want to find out who the shadow guy is.
Right.
I mean, it's nice when you can call them by their first names. It's more
Exactly.
respectful than
Yeah.
saying, hey, jokester.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Yeah, maybe we can get some answers for them tonight.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we can communicate with some of them tonight.
Well, I've been telling them you guys are coming, and I said, it'd be really nice, because I said you can ask us questions and we can answer them for you, and vice versa. Maybe you could answer some questions for us. I said, I'm really interested in your guys' lives, and I said, but you haven't really, talked that much. And, I just kind of get yes, no answers. And I don't know if they just physically can't, or
Well, that
they,
takes a lot
It
of
takes a
energy.
It takes a
lot of
lot of
energy.
Yeah, it takes a lot of
Yeah, it
energy,
does.
and
They have a level of-
there's definitely a learning curve as well, especially with like some of the equipment that we have, since this place hasn't really ever been investigated. There's going to be a little bit of a learning curve to get them to understand how to use the
Right.
equipment to communicate with us. So we'll have to kind of go through that, and we'll explain everything and how to use it. And
Right.
hopefully they're quick learners and pick up on it,
I
so that
think
we
so,
can
because
communicate. So
when he was watching me text, he seemed to
Right.
grasp it. He found it really interesting.
Right.
He was just like, and then when he disappeared, he was like, kind of thing.
right.
Huh.
But obviously they were back when few people even had a normal telephone, more
Right.
or less a little gadget we're holding. It probably looks like something out of a sci-fi movie to
Yep.
them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But
for
yeah,
sure.
I'll get that picture for you, and you can.
Okay.
But yeah, no, there's several of them around. I think there's a couple more here too. But like I said, it gets real active, especially after midnight. I found.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, it's usually after everything's gone, closed for a couple
Yep.
hours, and all of a sudden the activity starts
Okay.
up. Like I said, I've had bizarre things, lights turn on, you name it. He had the music box. That was really funny. But
So that's what I'd actually like to hear, that because we have a music box that we brought with us, and maybe he'll like to
play with that.
So
Mhm.
Yeah, he might. Like I said, he's kind of a jokester. It's mainly, I think, more like he wants, everybody out of the building. But
Right.
it's like, hey, I've told him a couple times, hey, if you really want me out, you can come help me.
Right.
Go faster if two people are doing
Right.
it.
Yeah. Really.
I haven't had any takers yet, though.
It's really interesting that you're actually seeing things too.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people just hear stuff, and that's great too. But when you're actually seeing things, that's a lot more.
Mhm.
fun.
Yeah, no, I've had that ever since I was a little kid, and I mean I can turn it off in my mind, but it's like no matter where I go, I've had it, and it's a lot of times they come to you because a lot of them died suddenly, like I had a murder victim come to me, actually in a town next to where I was living at the time, and it was in a period before I was born, and this guy was telling me how and why they killed him and put his body in the wall. Well, I had moved there for school. I really didn't know the area, but my boyfriend at the time's friend was a cop in town, and he had grown up there, and he was older than us. So I asked him about it. I said, this is going to sound really bizarre, but was there ever a murder in Ellsworth, like maybe 1960-ish? And he just kind of looked at me, and I said, I know you go over the train tracks, and it was a white house on your right. I started describing it, and his mouth just opened. He goes, how the hell do you know this? Did you read this somewhere? And I said, no. And I started describing all things, and he goes, well, now I don't know how you know it, because some of that stuff was never released.
Right.
And I said, no, this guy came here last night, and he told me everything. And it was just rather unsettling, because, I was trying to, calm him down and try to get him to light. Other times they'll come and they want you to give a message to a loved one.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Where I live now, we have the original owner of the house. The gentleman passed away, and he's there, but he's, like the guys here, he's very quiet. You can feel him, come and go, but he's, and I always asked him, I said, yeah, your wife's still alive? Do you go visit her in town at the, assisted living place at all? And, yeah, it's just interesting, but.
That's just Tim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you can tell when the guy walks up there, it's definitely boots, and it's definitely a boom. Kind of know. And that happens a lot. That's one of the things I think pretty much everybody that ever cooked here heard that, you know.
Sure.
It's, somebody walking from this end, going down that way.
So something that I kind of mentioned to Samantha, something else we like to usually do too when we go to locations is usually when we get to a location, we'll kind of set up, we'll place recorders, and then we'll kind of take off for dinner,
Mhm.
and we just kind of let the place lay stagnant. And
Mhm.
our recorders, we let our recorders pick up anything
Mhm.
during that time. So I don't know if there'd ever be a point in time tonight once the restaurant shuts down. I don't know what you guys had
for
planned
sure. They
for
shut
sure,
down
but
around 8, and it just depends how. And we usually aren't that busy on Saturday. I am making some more bread right now because it was like there's like 9 loaves total, 4 to go, and 5
We're
back
gonna
there.
need some.
Yeah, I'm gonna just do a quarter batch. But
Make sure we get the today's stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, no, like I said, they tend to settle down once, or, you know, kind of come out once everybody kind of goes, except I'm here. But I think they know that I don't mean them any harm,
Right.
and I can actually see and hear them, so maybe that makes them happy in a way.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems like I get seeked out regardless of where I go. When I go into old buildings, I run
Right.
into them
I,
everywhere.
I think there's several times where a lot of spirits and things are in a location and keeping it up and kind of keeping it as a little bit of a resemblance of what it used to be. I
Right.
think kind of makes them happy in a way
Please wear
too.
masks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's, it is. I think you're exactly right on that. That was their home. This is, like with Henry's case, he grew up here and he took it over from his dad, and then he had to rebuild the place, and then he ran it for several, decades. So you can see why, he'd be here. I mean, this is probably, that's why I figure I wonder if he goes over at the house too,
Right, yeah.
Yep.
Sugar land,
So,
so I have to.
It's, it's interesting. I'd love to ask him some questions too.
For sure.
But,
Yep.
like I said, they're all not scary.
Yeah.
The jokester, like I said, I think it's more, come on, lady, hurry up.
Right.
So
Yep.
we can be free to do whatever they do when we're not here,
Huh.
So, but
Sure.
yeah.
That's a
it's
picture
cool.
of the train.
Yeah,
crash?
that's what I said. That's
Yeah.
the head-on train collision. that
Yeah,
happened here.
nobody was killed in that though, surprisingly.
Yeah.
They just had that at the anniversary, I think last year. They had it in the local
Okay.
paper. There was a picture.
Okay.
Did that happen right outside
Yeah,
the
right
mill
outside.
here? Really?
Actually, right in the dining room.
In the dining room.
And that's table 21, and that's a table that over the years, different things have happened to.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
things will
okay.
disappear off randomly. Yeah, this shows the pictures of how the mill was. This here is Henry.
Okay.
And I
Alright.
don't know if the lady upstairs is his wife, because she always appears in a long, Victorian type gown, or
Yep.
his mom or somebody.
Okay.
I think the lady is a Thompson, related to the Thompson family.
Okay. Yep.
okay.
Thompson was the original owner, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, William Thompson.
Because that was the period.
'Cause his
definitely.
wife and daughter passed away as well, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, and that's like it. I hear the kids downstairs. I can't tell you if they're male or female, but they're
Right.
little kids running around.
Okay.
And I've never seen him. But that one's Henry, and he looked exactly like he did in the picture, other than he didn't have a coat on. He had like a vest,
Okay.
Huh.
brown shirt.
We'll have to see if we can pick up on him tonight then.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he was real interested. But yeah, why don't you guys take this? You can kind of look at it. Gives you a history too.
Awesome.
Of like the people that might possibly be here. I mean, they had a whole list, because I asked her after I had the first encounter that night, and she's like, "Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on." She gave me a sheet with all these people.
Yeah, I
names
sent
on it.
that to you, that sheet.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I was like, "Oh, interesting." And that was before I had really seen anybody. I had
Right.
heard them.
Yep.
Knew that they were there.
Yep.
So yeah. Well, that'd be great. Hopefully we'll
Yeah.
find out who our shadow person
sure.
is.
Absolutely,
Definitely.
yeah.
No, it's
Definitely
like
give it
I
a shot.
Yeah.
And maybe it's the same reason why he doesn't ever talk. Maybe he just doesn't have the energy to,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
come to form or something. And maybe he's somebody that was newer in the scheme of things. You can't
Right.
really tell. All I know is he's tall and slender.
Right.
Well, I
so-
do know, like, the lady and mostly she's been upstairs, but
Upstairs,
she's
yeah.
been down here too.
Okay.
At one time, it was a family Christmas party, and the kids had seen this lady, and I asked her, well, what color dress did she have on, to see if it was the lady
Yep.
in the blue dress.
Yeah.
And she said she couldn't tell because she was fading in front of her eyes, you know,
Right.
Right. Yep.
very matter of factly.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And you got a book, correct? That you've kept for over the course of the time
Just
here?
those sheets
Okay.
I took.
Yeah.
And the gal too, I don't know if I don't think it was in the sheets, like a guy had come in, and when we used to serve lunch, he's like, he came in by himself, he says, do you have ghosts here? I have a question for you, do you have ghosts here? And I said, well, yeah, why do you ask? He was a salesman for up at Roundy's. He said, well, it's been bothering me since I've last been here that I came in at lunchtime and there was nobody out front, and he used to have a sign that says, please wait to be seated. So he's standing there waiting and nobody's coming, and then this woman comes and says, follow me, takes him in the dining room, and when he came out, nobody was here, so he asked the one person who was here, where's that lady in the blue dress?
Yep.
You know, in the period costume. And there's nobody here but me and the cook, you know. So there was, you know, so
Yep.
we think she went and took him in the dining room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, they're really friendly and benign.
Right.
It's not something that's scary by any means.
See, that's kind of the
Yeah.
feeling I got when I was here. I just felt with just the history on the place when we were here that I felt like it would probably have some activity, and
Mm-hmm.
Samantha told me to go check out upstairs while I was here, so I kind of like walked upstairs just to see, and I just got like a good kind of happy vibe feeling here.
Yeah,
So
it's
like nothing.
definitely, like I said, definitely not demonic
Yep.
or evil. None of them.
Only one time, and I kind of said it like they were playing that cooler chaos,
Yep.
but they weren't really playing. The cook himself, he was a bastard. He was mean. He made me cry. You know, just a kind of spaz person.
Mhm.
So he came in one morning, nobody else was here, and he walked in the cooler, and everything just flew right at him, you know. But they didn't like him, and he was bad. You know,
Right.
he was
Huh.
a bad person. And that's the only time that they ever did anything. Otherwise, they just kind of play around.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
They,
like
somebody had come here and said they just feel they're very protective of us. They're
Okay.
really happy we're here.
You're
and,
protective of this place.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
they
Oh, yeah.
just, you know, want to take care of it.
Right.
They like that people are here and
Well,
that.
that's why I told you
So-
about the time they warned me about that stove. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they are very protective, you know, but kind of was driving me nuts, you know. I was like, I know the stuff was off when I left last
Right.
night, and that was the last one here, you know.
Yeah, he was just trying to
Yeah.
warn you.
Yeah, I
that-
don't know if I ever told you that, Nancy. I told Kurt. The stove, you know how we were, for a while, I'd come in the fryers
Yeah,
one?
yeah.
Well, all of a sudden, somebody would turn on a pilot light, and I'd have flames that high on the stove.
Well, I remember when that was happening.
Yeah, so I after several days of that, because it's so dangerous, especially in an old building, I had said to the guys, you know, the spirits, I said, look, I don't know if one of you is doing this as a joke or you're trying to warn me something, so let's do this. When I come in tomorrow, I don't want to see a flame. If there's something that's wrong with the stove, just let me know by not putting a flame on. If you're just having joking fun, that's fine. You know, turn it on. Just don't turn it on so high. And I came next morning, it wasn't there. And Dan did call somebody out, and the guy, when he was fixing, said, "Well, it's a good thing you didn't use this one burner, because if you would have turned it on, it would have exploded and caused a fire." So they are protective in that way. It's just sometimes knowing enough how to, you know, interpret their signals or whatever. So, yeah, I'm hoping with the equipment I can actually hear them too. You know, your mind
Right.
kind of
Mm-hmm.
puts in what you think they might sound like.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but
Hopefully
yeah.
we can get something with the SB7, I'm thinking.
Yep.
Yeah. So what time will you guys be coming back tonight then?
So I think Samantha mentioned maybe dinner.